Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to the Apex Online Racing Clio Cup. Tonight from a very different track compared to what we used to normally, and a track that I've got not a chance in hell of being able to pronounce. So we will go for the time being and call it Rouen Les Essarts. Yeah. It's not gonna end well, and the corner names are just as bad. Well, thank you very much, AOR, for the tweet as well. But yes, an exciting prospect tonight. Our drivers are in for a bit of a challenge, shall we say. There has been a lot of banter going on left and right over how long it's been, how long people are going to last, how quickly the session is going to be red flagged, etc, etc. But we will attack qualifying nonetheless with the same fervour and vigour that we normally do from these eager little Renault Cup Cars. Hey KJB, I am doing absolutely fine, thank you very much for asking. I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to tonight or not yet. As you can see, the track is a far cry from what we've had previously, both in this championship and generally much further afield. We don't seem to drive on these tracks all that often. Probably for really good reason. We're keeping eyes on the 59 Clio of Van Ommen at the moment, leading the championship. Is actually not a main driver, is actually a reserve driver. But with people dropping out from the field, a massive sideways moment. Probably just trying to get the heat into the rear tyres at this point. A lot of time and real estate for the drivers to get. And here we go. We're coming up towards the end of the lap now, and Van Ommen looks to start put some space between himself and the cars in front. Oh, and behind him, who on earth? Who was that? It wasn't Asturbo. I know it wasn't Asturbo. Someone, yeah, the 192 Clio of Jogurk, suffering under braking, not able to get the heat into the tyres. We're going to jump on board with Van Ommen for this first flying lap, because we're not going to get too much time or too many laps in here. So across the bumps, I tell you what, I'm going to jump on the bonnet this time, just to give you an idea of just how bumpy this track is and what the drivers are going to be fighting with. So this is through turn 2. Van Ommen already getting very, very sideways, and those white lines on the outside are not white lines, they are curbs. And if you hit those curbs, you will fly. So, turn 3, Virage des Frères. Absolutely no point. And then up to turn 4 now, the right-hand hairpin. This is how we're going to be numbering them tonight. I'm not going to be calling them out by names. There is a page, a Wikipedia page, with the corner names on for this track, but there is no point. This is turn 6. Left-hander going into a sweeping right, which does not have a name, and then they will be slowing down, probably about third gear or so. Second even, good grief, massive overslow to try and get the car into the apex there. Through 7, and then 8 was that kink that we just went through. This will be 9 here. Probably the most, the least busy that the drivers are going to be throughout the entire lap, other than the start-finish straight, and then they come into this very, very fast right-hand kink at 10. So so this is 10. And then I'll come down a gear for 11 through here. Bouncing off the rev limiter does Van Ommen to try and keep the car underneath him. And then through 12, and this slight kink apparently does not have a number. And then this last right hand bend which Van Omen is just going to keep the car in line for, not quite touching the curb on the outside. Brilliant car control as always, as we've seen from Van Omen here. Across the line, and we'll go to the top of the timetables for the time being with a 1.2 second advantage over As Turbo in second. Once again, Van Omen proving that where it counts, he can definitely put down the time. We're going to jump back to the trackside maps, the trackside cameras now, so we can get a view of this breathtaking circuit. There are vibes, and there's been a few whispers around the paddock talking about how this has a Nürburgring vibe, and you can certainly see from the tight, twisty nature of it. But Nürburgring does not have curbs on the outside. That is quite something to behold, and it's going to make for some interesting racing and racing lines as well as we come through the race with such a large field, so close in performance. The drivers are going to be hunting for space where there is none. Technically 3 wide. But you're going to struggle to go 2x2 any more than a couple of corners before very seriously slowing yourselves up in a very detrimental way. So it's going to have to be worth it. It's going to have to be worth the place that you're fighting for. You might see some kinder driving, shall we say, coming from the lower end of the grid. Smolder in the 19, currently 4th, 5th now. Just been displaced by Gerard Javal. 16 car comes through that sweeping turn 1. Who was that was just... I wasn't clear. Who has that breathtaking martini type livery that I like so much? There's Matt Cooley. There we go. Bit of damage on that Clio. So a few of the drivers not having set times yet are struggling really in the wars tonight. With the technicalities of this track. If there was a one-word guide to this track, don't touch the curbs, don't touch the grass, and just be consistent. There's no, you're not going to get any positions here by driving like a madman and driving beyond your ability. Oh, it looks as though we've got an accident in qualifying now. What is going on with that 176? It looks like he's trying to get out and he's trapped. He's, yeah, wheels spinning on the grass. That's what I mean. Don't touch the grass. 177 of Mad Hayes getting very sideways under braking for the hairpin. Pulling up the handbrake, it's not going to help you at such a low speed. These front wheel drive cars will not respond to that kind of input in the way that you think they will. This is a very, very weird track. Not complaining. This is part of the appeal of Project Cars 2 and the Clio Cup in general, is being able to go to these lesser known and peculiar tracks and have. I mean, how many times have you seen this track being featured? Well, in any championship from anywhere, really. Coming down, 6 minutes remaining at the moment. And it looks like the gap is... It's not your favourite to drive either, Nicholas. Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand that. It does look like a challenge. Maybe a job for the World Rallycross cars, actually. The circuit setup on those cars make them certainly a handful, but definitely an interesting proposition when it comes to circuit racing. Yeah, well, this is gonna be a very, very interesting race. From start to finish, up and down the field. Mad Hayes just overcorrecting. All it was a wheel. It wasn't even two wheels to start with, and the grass gathered him up and spat him out again. Kodiak in that mint condition, or so it'll say when it's put up on the sale ads. 39 Clio, currently in 8th, coming across the line. See if he goes any quicker. That will not be the one for the time being, unfortunately. What else have we got going on? Van Ommen has got, by the looks of it, an 8/10 gap to Asturbo at the moment. So Asturbo's pretty much on this track. He's got the measure of it as much as Van Ommen has. A slightly smaller gap. Jogurk, let me get his car on screen for you. Actually, that's a really impressive lap from him. 4th, 5th position for the time being. Again, it's another one of those things that going to peculiar tracks, shall we say, offers an opportunity for the drivers who aren't necessarily up the head of the field, specifically through practice, and the amount of time that they've had to drive certain tracks, Barcelona and that sort of thing. Everyone's driven that in various mechanical fault for Ticklish Picklewickle. That's an interesting one to have that through qualifying is rare indeed. Yeah, these rarer tracks gives those with good driving ability but not as much experience an opportunity to shine. Especially in qualifying, that one lap pace is certainly much easier to nail than a more consistent pace over a race. But remember, we've got the two races tonight. Carrera coming up through that 7 and 8 by the looks of it. Obviously, you'll have to forgive me. This track is absolutely alien to me. Jogurk in a different area of the track entirely. Coming up to that square left now. The event doesn't have a range restriction, no. No. There is, we accept people of all ages and skill levels, in fact. The only stipulation as far as AOR is concerned is that you be a mature and fair racer. We don't encourage the kind of bumper cars that you sometimes get in public lobbies. That vindictive mindset isn't suitable for league racing that we tend to enjoy here. Coming through that fast left right, getting very sideways. He's Jogurk. Looks like he's running on the loose setup at the moment, but it's really hard to tell. Both loose and stable have a massive there's not a performance difference. They all end up looking loose on this track. Especially with the Clios being front-wheel drive and very stiff-springed towards the back. Van Ommen has pitted with a minute to go. That will be him calling time. Asturbo, meanwhile, is still out on track looking to improve his times. Yorkie is given best as well in the 58. Third place at the moment, not out of reach of some of the other drivers, but certainly a good place to be starting the race from at a track that is going to be encouraging both passing and a lot of accidents. It's going to be very difficult to keep track of all the action for you tonight. Mad Hayes is going to give best as well in 10th, and Marauder 9th position at the moment, provided they aren't taken by any faster cars. Kodiak still out on one. I was hoping I was going to be able to get some more accurate timings, but it seems that my app doesn't work with spectator mode, unfortunately. Whoa! 39 again, a nice bit of sideways. Again, wheel on the grass, under braking, and that was that lap thrown away very early. Javal still circulating, Pereira as well. They look like they're in similar cars. Across the line, and Pereira stays fourth for the time being. That's a gaggle of cars coming across the line now. Let me see who we've got. So WMDR Martin will stay 14th. Absolutely. Royal T still coming over the top of the track. Alan Rake as well. Ticklish Picklewickle has come around the last corner. A bit of front end damage, so he's had an off at some point during the session. Will come across the line and jump all the way up to 8th position, pushing everybody from 20th up to 8th down by a position. A few more cars to come across the line. So Tony Taco's getting a lap on the board as well. Alan Ray coming up to the finish line now. Oh, looks tidy, but will not improve, and Royalty as well will come across the line. And last across the line, it looks like, is going to be King Kodiak, who has given best. Drops into the pits, and that will be our qualifying session over. So, it's not quite as bad as the commentating last night. Van Ommen will start the drivers away from pole. Asturbo in second position. Jogok will start in a very well-earned third place. Yorkio 6.5 in fourth. Tiago Pereira in fifth. Smolder sixth. Jared Javal in seventh. Ticklish Picklewickle, a brilliant drive up the field, to eighth in the later stages of qualifying. King Kodiak, Marauder, Mad Hayes, Alan, Jack Game, Crab, WMDR, Martin are your 10th to 15th. And then Numen Aparicio, Royalty. Let me get the table back up. Royalty, Mr. Ferret, Fatworm, Alan Rake, Matt Cooley, DH Gamer, and Tony Tacos will make up the latter half of the grid. So, as a reminder, there will be no AOR warm-up lap tonight. The drivers will get right underway with the tyres as they are. And essentially, we will see. We will have to see how they do into the first corner. We should be looking for some patience from the drivers, especially through turns 1, 2, and 3. It's going to be up to turn 4 at the first of the hairpins that we're going to see the first real damage occur. Not damage, but the real action occur. It sounds as though the drivers are revving their engines. We are getting ready to go. We'll keep an eye on the head of the field. Wheel spinning away. Van Ommen getting a reasonable start as Turbo following suit. Jogok, meanwhile, getting a much better start than the two ahead of them, using what slipstream there is to look around the outside of Asturbo. Asturbo seeing him there. There is also a Yorkie there as well, who is going to take the better part, discretion being the better part of valor there. Jogok has fallen into second place somehow up the inside through turn 2. So excellent driving from the young driver. Now up to the hairpin. This is where we're going to have to be very, very careful. And that was a King Kodiak going for a pass up the inside of the 31. Brilliant driving, held up the inside, and will make the pass past Ticklish Pickwickle. And now they go up the hill. As we look back further down the field, it looks like we have had a couple of incidents, unfortunately, through the first couple of corners towards the back of the grid. But surprisingly, through the hairpin, everyone seemed to be okay. I don't know why they're using the handbrake. That makes no sense whatsoever. No headlights being used, which is rather peculiar. If it was me, I would have my headlights ablaze there, especially coming through the trees. Coming up now across the top of the lap. Down through 10, 11 and 12. And Yorkie is looking to put some pressure on Asturbo at the moment. Yorkie has bemoaned a few times how his Clio races have gone. Has felt that he's had the car underneath him and luck has not been his favourite mistress. But at the moment, looking at the back of a podium place is definitely where you want to be looking. Through turn 1 is going to look around the outside. There's not going to be anything going there at this pace. The next opportunity is going to be where King Kodiak, funnily enough, was making up positions as well. Being very brave, all of these drivers running out onto the grass. We've seen a few accidents being carried out around there in qualifying. Maybe with a bit of weight in these cars, they're a little bit happier to run over the grass. That all seems to be line astern at the moment. We'll jump slightly further down the field where King Kodiak is looking around the outside of Marauder now. Marauder, a veteran of the FIA GT Championships, absolutely an entirely different driving discipline, completely different track as well to what he was used to in the Panos. And King Kodiak also has Alan behind, who is looking for a way past. We'll keep our eyes focused on Marauder. Lights ablaze now for these two cars. Now this is going to be interesting with Ticklish Pickwickle a couple at the head of this train. Known for being a reliable pair of hands and for being very stable with his handling of cars as well. The train will dissipate after a while, simply through other people making mistakes. Speaking of, Alan is going to look up the inside of King Kodiak. The space is there, but they're coming down to a right-hander next. It's going to be last of the late breakers into the right-hander. King Kodiak gives best to Alan for the time being. Fairly simple, well, a well-executed pass around the outside of the final corner for Alan over King Kodiak. And King now has that work to do all over again. Jack Game also being dragged along by these two drivers. That's interesting. Who's that is... No. So DH Gamer has gone a lap down with some fairly big performance issues. Crab as well in the pits. I don't wonder if he's retired or just getting repairs. Jumping up to the head of the field, and Jogak is still in second place, hanging on to the coattails of Van Ommen. Not close enough to challenge, but a absolute dream start for Jogak, who has been struggling for pace up until now. He seems to have found his stride with these Clios. Either it's just this track is just suiting him. But whatever happens, we're going to take it, and he's probably going to take it as well. Don't think he quite has the pace to be challenging Van Ommen at the moment. But for Van Ommen to be hunted so vigorously in this championship has become a bit of a rare sight. So we're going to make the most of this. And Yorkie, running wide through, where are we? That'll be turn 10. Yeah. Trying to take a late apex, running wide, just trying to get as much speed as he possibly can onto the start-finish straight to have a go at As Turbo and make up that gap. Meanwhile, I have been ignoring a battle in the midsection, which is essentially half the grid. 6th down to 13th are all within a second of each other. And this is going to get messy. It's going to get messy, and we're going to enjoy every second of it. Currently looking at Ticklish Picklewickle. Marauder having just got past, but now the shoe's on the other foot, and Ticklish has an opportunity to attack the SRK driver. Come up to the hairpin now. A 31 breaks on the racing line, and 129 gives the Gerard Javal a bump up the bumper. That's exactly what it's used for. And now Ticklish has Alan behind, and then it will be King Kodiak trying to take that place off him. Massive kick of oversteer for Ticklish. That's not a place that you want to be running off the racing line or off the track. As King runs slightly wide, using all the track and a little bit more. Yes, Van Ommen is, yes, scary. His pace in these Clios is something to behold. Joga getting a penalty, it looks like. What is that about? That's a corner cut penalty, 1 second penalty, which he has amply handled at the moment. Marauder running really wide. I wonder what on earth caused that. I was looking at the timing screens. It's always the timing. Marauder just ran a little bit wide of his own accord, which drops him back from Gerard Javal, gives Gerard a bit of space. Not that he's going to make the most of it, he's going to run wide through the final corner, which is called Paradise Corner. I think it's Heaven Corner or something like that in the native translation. Virage du Paradis. Just the tiniest breath of air for Gerard at the moment in 6th position. But this train is just going to get more and more intense. Alan is going to look up the inside of Ticklish Picklewickle and take the place really quite handily. Just kind of put his car in a position where Ticklish couldn't turn in. And there was not a lot that he could do. Next down the line is King, who's going to have a quick look up the inside of the 31 car, but it's not going to happen. The rest of these drivers line astern. I don't know as Gerard is necessarily holding the drivers up. I think that it's a case of he's the first one with any kind of clear air. So if we jump on board with him, look, all of this clear air is him punching a hole for the other drivers to follow through. So we jump on board with Marauder by comparison, and not only does Marauder have a car in front that he can use the lines of when it comes to what he does, knowing that they're going to have fairly similar tyre life. He's also got the benefit of having a car punching a hole in the air in front, being able to just accelerate a little bit easier through the soup that they would be feeling at 170 kilometers per hour down this straight. Massive bravery from our AOR drivers. We're going to stay on board with Marauder as he looks to the inside, coming down into Paradise Corner. He's going to outbrake himself. We jump back to trackside. He pushes both of them wide. Both drivers are going to lose positions for that, unfortunately. This is the kind of pressure that the drivers are under, and Marauder, quite rightly, waits for Gerard to come back past to try and get that pass done again. The penalty that Gerard took from Marauder's actions, being paid by Marauder. And this is the kind of driving that we like to see. The attack was made. And Gerard's going to run wide onto the grass. Massive damage. He has hit... it looks like he's hit the hay bales, which do stick out into the track. That's really unfortunate for him. Yeah, he's hit the hay bales there, which unfortunately do not crumple as much as you would think. And now running around with a lot of damage. Still in 13th, still good for some points. Right, let's jump back up to this battle from now 6 to, yeah, let's say it's still kind of 14th when you look at it. Mad Haze has just fallen off the back a little bit, but at the same time, having some air run through the car is not a bad thing at all, and that might be what's taking away his performance slightly. We jump back up to the head of this, and Ticklish, now in 7th position, has got to run down that long back straight on Alan. Is not going to maximise on it. Again, discretion being the better part of Valor here. Remember, the second race is with a reversed grid. The first 16, I want to say, drivers have their positions reversed. So as it stands with 7 minutes remaining, Alan Rake would be starting from the pole. Whoa, massive moment for Alan Rake as well. This is how difficult these cars are to drive around this track. We're out into the start-finish straight now for this battle from 6th down to let's say 12th generously. Yeah, but it really it ends with Smolder, who is looking at the back of King Kodiak and eyeing up that 10th place, wanting it quite badly. Some damage on the 19 car compared to the 69, I think. I can't remember which car number King's got. 10? No, 39. There we go. So, Smolder carrying some damage from a previous incident up into the hairpin now. King pulling the handbrake. Again, not actually helping him get any kind of oversteer. You need to be pulling the handbrake at a higher speed for it to actually make any difference there. But, and up the top of this, Ticklish has gotten past Alan, the pass is made, and that reliable and consistent driving style by Ticklish has handed him that 6th position. But he runs wide, that's going to give Alan space up around the outside, but it's never going to happen. Next corner is a right-hander, and then it's this fast kink. Will jump on board once again with, I'll tell you what, we'll jump on board with Alan. There we go. As Ticklish taps on the brake a little bit more than I think Alan was expecting. That's just to keep the car in check. That white Clio still looking very, very, very good, and we have an exclamation mark next to Jogak's name, and Van Ommen has taken a penalty as well. Now this is interesting. They are line astern for penalties. Neither of them can afford to make a mistake. Van Ommen especially. Because if he gets a corner cut warning and he does not pay back that time, well, either way, it's Jogak's win, which would be a massive, massive win for him. Over the start-finish line. The gap is 0.3 of a second. And now Alan looks to the inside. I don't think that's necessary. Oh, that looks bad. I think that's Alan. Yeah, Alan has had some... Yep, Alan is having issues. Ticklish, it looks like, has had... Oh! Oh, so that... Let me just break that down very quickly for you. So Ticklish has a massive moment through that fast first sector. Spun on the track, nothing he can do about that. And then unsighted King Kodiak has come round with, looks like turn 2, and just obliterated the Clio. there is everything that can come off that Clio has come off. As far as the game's concerned, there is no boot, there is no spoiler, there's no front end in the slightest. The lights are still just about holding on. It would be interesting to see if they actually still work. But that was a really difficult accident to watch. Of course, accident, entirely an accident. No ill intent there at all. If anything, it looks like, where is Alan according to the timing screen? I think he may have had a disconnect. Alan. Yes. So poor Alan has had a disconnect, and either at the same time or in relation to that, Ticklish has had a very large off-track moment, resulting in a lot of damage for both him and King Kodiak. However, again, reverse grid. This is only the sprint race, and WMDR Martin goes around the outside of Smolder into the final corner, but outbrakes himself. Again, we're seeing this so much. They're getting so greedy on the brakes, and that's going to give Smolder the advantage coming over the start-finish line. Slipstream not quite affecting as much as Smolder would like. Maybe that's a characteristic of that damage that Smolder has taken earlier in the race. So even with that massive lock-up through the final corner, WMDR Martin able to push forward. Marauder now in a very mint-looking 129 behind Jack Game, who the two drivers left from this sixth position battle. Now King and Ticklish is off the road. It looks like he's had another massive moment, and King as well, missing the rear end of the Clio, so has also had another big moment. Marauder keeping it neat and tidy in that black, orange and white Clio. This is about as much as I was expecting to see, honestly. Lights ablaze, trying to distract Jack Game in front. Up through the second half of the lap now. That kink is kind of where the track tends to get a bit more sweepy and a little more smooth and a little flatter. The drivers can have a little bit more confidence than they had before, and Marauder is certainly showing that. Coming up here for sixth, is going to go around the inside of Jack Game. Now this is the final corner. Again, we're going to jump to the bonnet. Marauder has the outside. Jack Game is going to keep it in tight. Really good driving for both of these. Neither of them outbraked each other. That was Marauder running wide just to make sure that Jack Game had the space should the car go sideways. And that may have just lost him the position for the time being. We've still got time. We've got 24 seconds, so they will have this one last lap to see where these guys are, where the guys are on track. Very quickly. Yep. So they're only up at the hairpin. So this will be the last lap. They've got about 4 miles left to go, and Jack Game has got all of the time. Jogak has fallen down to third, unfortunately. But Marauder all over the back of Jack Game. Swerving he is allowed to do since he's attacking, trying to put Jack Game off his game, funny enough. And he's going to pull them the same manoeuvre that we've seen so many times this race by King. Keep the Clio tight. Take the inside line up that right-hander. Unfortunately, the next corner is going to be a left-hander, and the red and several shades of blue Clio of Jack Game manages to retain his position. Great driving from this fight. Some equally great driving up at the head of the field. How is a resident superstar Jogak? So no damage by the looks of it. Seems that he's just had to back off in his pace. Either that or he's had an off-track excursion that somehow didn't involve hitting a wall, which is an astounding feat in its own. man of the hour, as always. We're not going to take away from him. Van Ommen has achieved yet again another win. Not as comfortable as we've seen before. That was a really quick stop, actually. Not as comfortable as we've seen in his previous races, and we've got to remember as well that Van Ommen is going to have Jogak and As Turbo in front of him on the reverse grid. So Jogak will come through in third, Pereira will come through in fourth. A really, really solid, quiet race for Pereira, but solid nonetheless. Brilliant points that he will be able to take home from that. And yep, the other drivers were going a lot slower than he was. Yorkie will come across the line in fifth, Marauder sixth, Jack Game in seventh. Marauder eventually taking that position in the latter half of the lap, unfortunately for Jack Game. Mad Hayes will come home in eighth position. Mind the Clio. WMDR Martin will park up alongside the winner of the race. Smolder will have a small accident in front of our camera position. Gerard Javal in 11th will take straight to the pit lane. He does not want to do this anymore. He just wants to go and get a drink. Alan Ray coming across the line now. He's going to lose a position at the very last second to Mr. Ferret. That will be 12th, 13th, King Kodiak and Matt Cooley across the line as quick as you can say them, or even quicker in 12th to 15th. Fat Worm will have a lonely race across the line in 16th. Nuno Aparicio, it will eventually come home reasonably comfortably in 17th. 18th will be Royalty when they eventually make it round. Ticklish Pickleworker will drop all the way down to 19th with a nightmare of a race. I dread to think how bad that Clio must be handling. And Tony Tacos looking to take the Project Cars veteran. Oh no, maybe just one lap. No, that was for the position. There we go. Cool. And then DH Gamer comes across the line as well, and Crab will finish us off in 22nd, 23rd place. Or our only retirement of the race, unfortunately, will be Alan, who had connectivity issues. So, just in case you didn't have enough fun last time out. So, time penalties adjusted. There are no changes that I can see. Nope, WMDR Martin will lead from Smolder over the line as well. And yes, so a brilliant showing for As Turbo. Van Ommen leading the way, and again being pushed fairly comprehensively through the race by Jogak. It's going to make for a very interesting reverse grid race next time out. I'm just going to jump back to the starting screen, see if anyone wants to come and say hello. But in the meantime, as the session is restarted so that we can go and enjoy our feature race. We have a Mr. Van Ommen in the ready for interview room. Mr. Van Ommen, congratulations on another victory. Very well earned, and a little bit more taxing than what you've grown used to in this Clio Cup.
Yeah, true. It was after the qualifying, it was actually surprising, but I think that the slipstream is really strong. I don't know. It was Yogurt was driving really well, but I saw on the start finish till the hairpin, he gained like 2/10 or something on me every lap. So either he has the corners fixed or or the slipstream is really strong. I don't know.
Well, he seemed to be taking a lot of the corners differently to the way you were, because we were watching the lead battle through the early stages of the race, and he seemed to take a lot of corners differently to you, and it seemed that you made your pace in different ways around the lap.
Okay.
So that may be his genuine pace, regardless of slipstream, because we did see further down the grid as well that slipstream wasn't as effective. But again, I don't know the damage numbers on the particular cars, so we have to take that into account as well. But yeah, as much as I don't want to put the fear of Joe Gurk into you, that may be his genuine pace around this track.
Yeah, no, but that's good. That's good. A good battle is always fun, you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a fantastic battle for the lead. It's just a bit of a shame that it went away in the latter stages of the race, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and actually, I mean, no bad intentions to other people, but I was obviously happy with Yogurt driving there. Obviously, in between me and Asturbo, right? So
Yeah.
that's good for points for me. But
Oh, of course, of course. But at the same time, having that. So we now know as well. Well, we've seen your driving overtaking. We know that you can lead the way. We now know that you can deal with pressure as well. So a man of so very many talents, and it's been an absolute pleasure to watch you so far through this Clio Cup.
oh, thank you very much for that.
Feature race, you got to do it all again, and somehow you've got to get out from ELB 16th, won't it?
Yeah, that's gonna be tricky on this track. So let's see how that goes.
We'll have eyes all over you. I'm just going to grab some of the other drivers in, but good luck in the next race. Congratulations on the win again.
Thank you very much.
Next into the combox, we will grab WMDR Martin. A race for you, shall we say? Actually, you did alright today.
Yeah, it was just mostly staying out of trouble this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really was staying out of trouble. You're one of the few cars without any damage on it, as far as I could see anyway.
Yeah, no bodywork damage for me, so I was quite happy with that.
Brilliant. That's how you want. That's how you want to go into the feature race, isn't it? Reverse grid. So I don't have the positions here, unfortunately. But reverse grid is gonna shake things up a bit for you as well.
Yeah, it's actually the first time that it's gonna affect me because the other first races I was always like P20 or 21 or something like that.
Ah, right. 1 second. Sorry, I'm getting DMs. Come on. I can type, honest. Right, there we go. Yeah, so sprint race. Talk me through it very quickly. How did it go for you?
Well, basically there was the pack right in front. I didn't really have the pace to keep up with them. I kept making small mistakes. And then it was just kind of waiting until something happened, and then I think the guy behind me had a huge accident because he had a lag spike in turn 2.
Yep.
Which kind of gave me some breathing space. And then there was a massive pileup between like I don't know, maybe 9, 11, 12 around there. And managed to avoid those guys. And I think I passed Smolda as well, but I could see he had some front damage and had a penalty, but didn't really do much. So
yeah. None of the penalties that were accrued during that race made any difference to the overall positions when it came to the end, which is kind of what we want, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I saw a couple of penalties up front. Those did nothing too.
No. They had no. The gaps were far enough apart that it didn't make any difference when it came to the finish line.
That's sweet.
Unfortunately, well, yeah, kind of fortunate, kind of unfortunate, but yeah. But feature race now. So pushing, or we sticking with the same approach as before of just staying out of trouble and.
It's gonna have to be the same approach, but the guys behind me are gonna be faster. So all I'm gonna be able to do is really just park it in the middle of the road and hope they don't run it.
That's going to be way easier to do than most tracks, isn't it?
As long as I don't mess it up, yep.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to you, and hopefully we'll speak to you at the other end as well.
See ya.
We're just going to very quickly grab Ticklish Picklewickle into the combox as well. Ticklish, not a great race for you?
It was until the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was watching you at the time as well.
Yeah.
What? Okay. What actually happened? Because everything kind of happened at once. Alan had connectivity issues. Was that related to your accident?
It wasn't. I did notice there was some rubber banding involved. I did see that when I was close behind him. But it wasn't anything to do with it because I was already in front of him when that happened.
Right.
When it happened. But yeah, it happened in turn 2. and I actually got some understeer, sorry, and I understeered to the curb on the outside.
Oh.
And rather than, I mean, normally if you hit one of the curbs on this track, you either like hit it very hard or
Mhm.
you don't hit it at all.
Yeah.
But I just grazed it, like I just grazed it a little, and
Oh.
it just flung my car around. I mean, it was split second, and I was just around.
Yeah.
I didn't have any time to react to it.
Yeah, so rather than whereas normally you either ride the curb, you either ride up on the curb, or you just you graze it, as you say, with the outside the walls of your tire. It's like as if the rear wheel kind of caught on the curb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And these are not race curbs; these are actual street
Actual curbs.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you would have on the streets normally. So they're very high.
Yeah.
So it's like either you want to just go over them and preferably onto the grass as well.
Yep.
To sort of take some of that load off the suspension.
Yep.
But if you just grace it like I did, it just turns you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that just happened, and it happened so fast. And then
Oh yeah.
I tried to counter steer, but then I ended up in the other direction, and then King Kodiak came right into my direction, and I mean there was nothing I could do. There was nothing he could do.
Oh, absolutely.
It just happened. So
No.
For the rest of those 5 minutes, I basically drove with my wheel 45 degrees to the right to turn straight.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it was, and it was basically undrivable. But since there was only 5 minutes left, I chose to not pit for damage.
Yeah.
And just keep going. And I actually ended up 20th, which gave me 1 point. So that just goes to show that
it's worth.
Yeah, it's worth to keep going, even if you absolutely trash your car.
Absolutely, totally agree. Hopefully, you have a better race in the feature race. Your driving, your driving as always is exemplary. It was really nice being able to watch you fight, and the track isn't impossible to overtake on. I think you proved that through the race as well. So there's definitely some progress to be made. Definitely some points to be had for the championship as well in the feature race.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be interesting.
I look forward to it. I really do. Good luck, and hopefully speak to you at the other end as well.
Sure thing.
Brilliant. And lastly, we will take Fatworm into the box before we get going. Fatworm, just give us the perspective from your end of proceedings.
Say it from the back.
No. I wasn't going to say from the back, because you had, from what I could see, you did get quite a bit. You did get quite a bit of screen time on the stream. But from what I could see, your car wasn't. It did have a bit of damage, but it seemed to be driving okay.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. I got that in, I think, T2 on the first lap.
Oh, rubbish.
Yeah, just caught the rear wheels on a little bit of grass, and that was it. It was gone. But no, it handled all right. I quite like that track. And as long as you don't be silly, you should be all right.
Yep. Before the race, people were chatting about how it has the feel of Nürburgring and that sort of thing about it. You can definitely, having seen the race and actually done a full race length, you can definitely see how it's earned that reputation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's narrow, it's twisty, and the hardest bit I think is from the start straight, going down there, barreling down in sixth gear, coming to T2, and learning from my perspective to brake and accelerate at the same time and shift.
Right. Yes, that's it. That's a challenge. So, what's your steering setup?
Oh, in what way? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
What's your rig?
Oh, I've got a Logitech G29.
Hey, good man. Yes, so you've got your full shifter and your clutch and all of that. So you are properly having to heel and toe and get you have the full control that you're trying to get together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just try and make it as realistic as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're not cheating and using a gamepad or anything like that. So, which was what I meant. No, so yeah, absolutely doing all the hard work tonight. Yeah, enjoying it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's the first time I've done this kind of stuff. But I've realised I've I've came 16th in that race, which means I lead off, which is going
Absolutely.
to be interesting.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see that.
Well,
And
I don't need to watch it really.
And the other thing as well is you were saying about how like it's from the back of the grid, blah 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 blah. The coordinator was behind you, sir. So you are not allowed to say you were at the back of the grid because you were not at the back of the grid.
Oh well, I think I mean I think I ended up at one stage about 22nd. Just thought, you know what, just drive steady, and it was, you could see people dropping off and having accidents a little bit, and I thought, well, just keep.
Yep, you're starting to sound like Ticklish now. That's a good thing, by the way.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. No, if you spend any time talking to Ticklish, he'll tell you that slow and steady wins the race every time. But yeah, no, that's absolutely a compliment. And I can't wait to see you lead away from the field.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
The best of luck to you. I hope that the faster guys are very kind to you, because with that kind of pace, you are. Well, with that kind of philosophy on driving, you absolutely deserve to be up the top of.
Very kind of you, sir.
That's what I'll say. Enjoy the feature race, and hopefully I'll speak to you at the other end.
Cheers, Aki.
Good man. Okay, so with all of that done, with all of those interviews done, an absolutely hectic first race. Up and down the grid, battles just oh man. There's also banter going on in the in the lobby, so you know this is all fun. Yes. With that was the sprint race. That was the appetizer. Now we get on to the main course as we jump back into the gameplay. And we're looking at 45 minutes. And I'm pretty sure it's mandatory pit stop. If not, they're gonna need to pit. After 45 minutes of driving, they're gonna need some fuel in these cars. Just getting up now. So what we're going to see here is the Apex Online Racing manual start procedure. If you've not seen or heard of Apex before now, and at night, look at that. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. So if you haven't heard of Apex Online Racing before now, or the manual start procedure, here's what's going to happen. Mr. Zach is already retired. Really unfortunate for him. But what's going to happen is, because we're running in a reverse grid order, we're going to jump straight into the race session and we're going to do a manual start. So when the lights go green, we will not start the race. What will happen is all of the drivers will pull to one side, and then, as we recently found out, Fatworm, currently in 14th, will pull to the head of the field and lead the Clios round on a warm-up lap, which normally ends up being more of a warm-down lap. After that, the drivers will pull through one by one, and to their correct reverse gridded options, perspectives, positions. There we go. That's words. And then we will do a relatively normal, as you've seen, warm-up lap. And then the next time round, hopefully, we will go racing and not have a massive pile-up into turn one with the different pace of drivers up and down the grid. What that also means is, as you can see from the size of this grid, if I just go very briefly to 16th, which is royalty on the grid, and jump to the roof, this is the view of royalty and will be the view of our previous race winner, Van Ommen, when it comes to race start proper. And we will be doing a rolling start with Clios as well, which is also going to be brilliant. So the drivers all moving off to the side. Always very difficult to communicate things like this. And we should see Fatworm, who's currently jumped off to the side, there we go, here we go. So, trying to negotiate his way to the head of the field. No room on this track whatsoever. Fatworm being super careful, as he should be. Brilliant. Mature driving. Exactly what we want to see from our AOR drivers. So Matt Cooley is going to pull away in second. King Kodiak looks like he is going to retain third for the start of this race. So disappointing end to the previous race is going to spell a very encouraging start for this race. I'm sure King is going to be looking to make immense progress up the grid. Behind King Kodiak will be Alan Rake, and this is the grid forming up really nicely now. Smolder is going to be pulling up alongside in 5th position. WMDR Martin will start in 6th with Mad Haze 01 in 7th alongside him. Jack Game 88, who is there with just about the only Clio that you'll be able to see in this very dense darkness. And even then, you're not seeing much. Now, as the drivers are going a little bit too quickly, just gonna... So, SRK Marauder, who is having that wonderful battle in the latter half of the race last time out, will lead Yorkie away, who had that tremendous fight for third position in the earlier stages of the race with Thiago Pereira. Funnily enough, who will start in 11th position. Joe Girk, man of the hour, I think it is pretty fair to say, and a revelation to the Clio Cups tonight, pushing, as we saw, Van Ommen most of the way through that sprint race. Brilliant driving from start to finish, and now he has an entirely different challenge to face, which I'm sure he's relishing. Who's this that's pushing up? Jarajeval, there we go. Yeah, going up to 11th. There we go. Just behind Yorkie, that looks about right. As Turbo coming up to the pack in 14th now, and then Van Ommen currently 15th. We're waiting for one more driver. Yep, Ferret will run through. That looked wrong. Yeah, Ferret should have gone significantly earlier than that, I think. So Ferret is going to have to make his way up through the grid, but Van Ommen now in the correct position. We'll see Ferret go further up the grid. Then DH Gamer, Crab, Nuno Aparicio, Tony Tacos, Royalty, Alan and Ticklish Picklewickle will form up the further half of the grid. We have a quick look. Fatworm has now parked on the run down to, down to the hairpin. Hopefully these drivers are going to get sorted out nice and quick, so we can get this race underway. Just look at the state of those cars. And this is what we have to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Piling into the first corner, all of these lights are ablaze. Somehow they've got to get some heat into those front and rear tyres and the brakes, and then hope that everyone else has done the same. Asturbo now parking up at the end of the snake. Van Ommen 16th. Nuno Aparicio will start 17th. 18th will be Royalty. Tony Tacos 19th. DH Gamer 20th. Ticklish Picklewickle in 21st. No, 20th. Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. DH Gamer 21st, Crab and Alan coming from all the way at the back of the grid with that retirement due to network, it looks like. Really disappointing for the AOR driver, and a lot of work to be done to the head of the field. The green light is given, and Fatworm will lead the pack away on a formation lap. A bit of a gap. Gerard struggling to get away, it looks like. Driving very slowly. That's not what we want to see. Come on, Gerard. Get moving. Get going. That gap is way too big. He's going to start to cause problems for the leaders and the rest of the pack soon if he doesn't get going. Mr. Ferret starting to close up now. Come on, get up to the back of the grid. There we go. Oh, evasive action needed there from Matt Hayes. Was not expecting Martin to haul out the anchor so much. Leaving very nice. God, it does have the effect of the straight from Spa, or uphill as well. Oh, these formation laps are the worst. They really are, because the anticipation just builds and builds and builds and builds, and it reaches a fever pitch, and we're only halfway around the lap. Come on, let's get going. Coming over top of the circuit now. Fatworm. If that's one thing that Project Cars absolutely has right, let me just turn the overlay off so we can see a bit more of it. If that's one thing that Project Cars has absolutely nailed, is the effect of driving at night. You can almost feel how visceral even these tiny baby race cars, how aggressive they will be coming over at race pace. A story coming in from KJB in chat. So the Jorgug team and Crab, they're called Broken Steering Racing because Crab has actual half a broken steering wheel. Really interesting little fact. So Crab right down the edge of the field, and Jorgug having a bit of revelation in 13th at the moment. They're coming around the final corner, and Fatworm trying to hold the field at bay. It must be so difficult having run so far down the grid. It looks like he is just about keeping it under wraps. And we will... no countdown or anything. This is just when Fatworm feels he wants to go. And he has squeezed the throttle right the way open. Got a jump just about on Matt Cooley. And they will go 2x2 down into turn 1. It's sweeping right-hander. And everyone, it looks like, is going to survive for the time being. Great bit of patience. Going 2, almost 3 wide through turn 3 now. That was turn 2, in fact. Incredible bravery from all of these drivers, and someone has had a massive sideways moment at the back there. That is Crab with, and DH Gamer losing one of his headlights as well. We'll jump back up to the head of the field as they go into the hairpin for the first time. 176 of Fatworm has got the tiniest of gaps. Marauder all the way down in 9th, looking around the outside of WMDR Martin, almost looking to lose a position. He's going to push Yorkie up the inside. Didn't even know he was there by the looks of it. And Van Ommen has already got all the way up to 11th position, looking to take on these two battling pair in front. It's a feeling that Yorkie's going to know all too well is being passed by Van Ommen. But push to the outside. quite fairly by Van Ommen. And now Yorkie will be looking to use Van Ommen as a wedge to get past Marauder, isn't it? I've got to get that back up. Yep, Marauder. Whoa, big slide for Jogurk there. Not quite so happy running in traffic as he was last time out, and maybe even the track temperatures causing him a few issues there. Up towards the head of the field, Fat Worm still sitting in first, Matt Cooley still in second, Alan Rake still, nope, in third, has taken a place from King Kodiak. That may have been through traffic, and we may see a position change back. No. King looking up the inside, looking to get it done on the start-finish straight. Rake goes to block, but knows that the Clio's already there. And now Mr. Ferret, I think that is going to look to push King Kodiak through turn 1 to get the pass done for both of them. King getting very sideways there. Oh no, and big accident. 2 cars going end over end. And that's 3-4 cars now as they come. At what point do we call a red flag? There's a car upside down on the track at the moment. Van Ommen was involved, taking immense damage from that incident, and the car behind Jackgam 88 has taken massive damage as well. What else have we got going on? So there's 2 silhouettes from the rest of the grid. There is a, I think that's Royal T. No. That will be DH Gamer suffering with a bit of damage there. King Kodiak will be silhouetted against Tony Tacos behind. And not very much left of that Clio, if I'm perfectly honest, and runs across the inside and knocks some hay bales out of the way. That car is definitely not straight anymore. Yorkie as well, struggling a bit. Jogurk, after such a fantastic race first time out, to go all the way down to 20th through, I can only suggest, no fault of his own. Coming through turn 1, it was pretty much a passenger at that point. That's the risk of night racing. And now we also have Marauder and Alan Rake, who were looking at podium places. Rake getting a little bit wide over the outside of turn 1. And King, where's King looking at the moment? These drivers are going to be struggling like you wouldn't believe. With no lights, you can see just how dark it is. And this is what the drivers can see. Let me jump on the bonnet. This is all they can see. The curbs, which have been a death trap to so many, and in reality the cause of Rake's damage. Bit of a lifeline at the moment, being able to distinguish where the track's going by those bright white curbs. Back up at the head of the field, Fat Worm from that incident has got a bit of space now. Bit of space at the moment, other than Matt Cooley, who's going to run very wide and give the curbs a good cluster on both sides of the track, but keep the car in check, which is what matters most. A brilliant livery, and just about keeping it into the hairpin as well. Looked like he was very much outbraking himself. Mr. Ferret and Smolder behind are looking to, I don't know if that's swap places or just, oh man, part of me wishes that we had replays, and part of me is glad that we don't, because that was a heartbreaking accident that I don't know if we could even pick the details of it apart. That was extraordinary. Yet again, down between 7th and 14th. Less than a second covering all of those drivers. Cooley now dropping back from Fat Worm. So Fat Worm, who we spoke to before this race start, was very trepidatious about his chances of retaining that lead, with the damage from Van Ommen and a lot of the fast guys being taken out by that incident between turn 1 and 2. Fat Worm's now looking in quite a cute little position now. If he can keep his car underneath him, if he can keep Matt Cooley at bay, which I think he's able to do quite handily. His neat driving style seems to be suiting the Clio around this track, and as he was saying in the interview, definitely trying to take a very calm approach to the race. I'm sure he is not doing too well as far as the keeping calm is concerned at the moment, but keep your head on, Fat Worm. We absolutely salute you for your driving so far. You're doing a fantastic job. Meanwhile, Matt Cooley is now looking to be under pressure from Mr. Ferret and Smolder behind. The gap from Ferret to Smolder is now larger than the gap to Cooley. Cooley's going to jump off to one side, outbrakes himself massively into the hairpin. Gifts Mr. Ferret second place, gifts Smolder third place, and will rejoin the fight in fourth. Marauder, meanwhile, damage repaired by the looks of it. That means that Alan Rake, yep, damage repaired as well, and King Kodiak still in the pits. Royalty, meanwhile, hitting, there we go. And now battle becomes rejoined for Smolder and Mr. Ferret in second and third respectively. Meanwhile, you can see on the time ticker in the bottom right, Nuno Aparicio in 9th position, setting the fastest first sector. Mr. Van Ommen, just because he's in 20th doesn't mean he's not fighting every tooth and nail for every position he can get back. Heartbreaking first corner incident on the second lap of all times, but nonetheless has got the job done, got the pit stop completed, and he's now back on track and is now able to work up the grid and get points. So Fat Worm currently doing a decent job of staying out in front, just keeping a bit of air between himself and the chasing pack, and Smolder and Ferret are going to be fighting with each other, trying to get in front. So they're both, there's a lot of complicated maths going on in all of these drivers' heads about what's worth pushing for and what is not quite worth at the moment. Further down the field, Jack Game 88 has got Aparicio up behind and now in front with no headlights. Jack Game running around very, very bravely. Maybe he's just holding off on getting that damage repaired until he is due a fuel and or tyres pit stop. But that is going to be giving him a significant disadvantage generally. Let's be very real. Nuno Aparicio looking to... getting balked by Pereira on the exit of the hairpin is going to put Jack Game alongside him. The next corner is a left-hander, so Jack Game looking like he's going to have the advantage coming in here. Yes, he does. How much can he keep it in a straight line, however, with all of that front-end damage? Who knows? Who knows? And I'm not going to answer that. I am here to tell you what is happening, not what might happen, because my goodness, I wouldn't dare even try and say what's going to happen. That Jack Game is still out implies that his damage is not all that terrible, but his pace will be suffering from the lack of headlights. As obvious as a statement as that seems to be. Slightly further down the field, one of the few battles that we have on the track, and Ticklish Pickwick is looking at the back of Crab with malicious intent to take that 11th position away from him. Looks like Ticklish has got the Clio slightly more underneath him than Crab does. Is going to have to pull out of the racing line and slam on the brakes to try and avoid the fishtailing Clio that he had in front of him. Ironically, Crab fishtailing. I'll let you pick that apart in the comments and chat. Not going to happen around the last corner if you have to take such a tight line. And Pereira dropping into the pits already. Doesn't look like a penalty. King Kodiak has retired, unfortunately. The damage too great. The damage to everything a little bit too much. I wonder what's going on with Pereira here. That doesn't look like there were... It doesn't look like there was a lot of damage there. Maybe that was fuel and or some tyres going on. Ticklish the first with penalties. Pereira has a 2-second penalty. Jogok has a second penalty as well.
Need some help in the commentary box, sir?
Hey there, Kane. How's it going? Firstly...
I'm sure you've seen how it's going.
Firstly, as we're watching Ticklish try to get past Crab, who seems to be having a bit of trouble with his Clio, tell us about the troubles that you've had with your Clio.
Well, I don't know what happened that took me out of 4th place or 5th place for the beginning of the race. I don't know whether I went too far over or whoever was chasing me came into the side of me. I don't know. And then spent 2 minutes 20 or something like that in the pits, so over a full lap.
Oh,
And
ouch.
as I'm trying to let Van Ommen come past me, I touch the curb on the... I tell him to pass me on my right. I touch the curb, which pitches my car to the right, and I unfortunately hit him again.
Oh,
So decided to park it, as it seems to be much safer for me to not be in this race, which is frustrating because I've done a lot of practice on this one. But that is the nature of the beast. There's a great lead battle going on, Fatworm, Ferret and Smolder at the minute.
oh, absolutely. No. In fairness, Fatworm has been doing an absolutely ridiculous job of defending his lead. I got him in for an interview between the two races, and he was very, very despondent about his chances of getting any kind of position or points in the second race. But so far, his driving has been absolutely exemplary. Mr. Ferret spins it through turn 2. And there's another accident going on behind as well. Who was that has just thrown it off? I think that was Jack Game. No, it wasn't Jack Game. It was his teammate.
Matt Cooley was involved in that incident with Ferret, I think, as he's trying to recover. And Ferret has been overtaken now by... who is that? That is Nino Aparicio. Forgive my voice, it's very croaky. I have a cold. Oh, that's very deep for a Jack. But he manages to get through the hairpin. Yeah, this race, I mean, it's ironic that the first race, which we all anticipated to be much more chaotic than it was relatively clean. And this has just been an absolute cluster, you know what, so far. But we'll see how it goes for the remaining 22 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Pit stops. What are we looking at? Are we looking at pit stops for this race or? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Undoubtedly, there's no way the fuel will go long enough. The pit entry's not too bad. It's the pit exit that's difficult. It's just right on the racing line.
Yep.
And the Clios have been at full crank for quite a while by the time you get to the pit lane exit. So that's going to be.
It's going to be heartbreaking at some point, I think.
Fatworm's dropped it. Smolder's now into the.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. He did say that he was going to be looking for a nice consistent race. He has been driving absolutely exemplarily for 25 minutes. It's setting an absolute example for the rest of the field, really. Yeah. As for your incident, I can say it was who was it you were fighting with? Yellow car.
I don't know who it was.
Yeah, there's someone on the outside went into the side of you. Just clipped the curb, same as you did.
Exactly as I did against Van Ommen.
Yep, absolutely. The curbs are absolutely deadly around here, it seems.
Matt Cooley is in. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a bit of damage on his car to deal with.
Yep.
As Aparicio is now chasing up to Jack Gamer. They're now up to 5th position, and Gerard is right behind Fatworm, who, in fairness, he's not that far off the back of Smolder. Smolder was chasing me for a lot of the sprint race, so I can appreciate how quick that is. Oh, what have we got here? 8th position, that is Alan. Having a look at Mr. Ferret. He's getting very close. Ferret is getting very twitchy, and he's bailed on it. It's often the safest way to do it, especially coming down to the hairpin here. You see how Alan is getting very sideways. It's you're having to turn and bounce over the bumps and with your foot on the brake as well, it's very difficult. I found the safest way of doing that is to actually keep your foot on the gas and brake at the same time. It's the only way really I was able to do that anywhere near successfully. And even in the sprint race, I got it wrong and bounced off the wall, gave myself 10 damage in the sprint race, which was very frustrating. But there we go. Such has been my race tonight.
No, absolutely. It just goes to show how different it is being able to practice and get clean laps in practice, and indeed qualifying. Your qualifying pace was pretty much on it. But the difference, when you add another 22 other cars, all of that goes out the window, doesn't it, really?
It does indeed. Who's that that's coming? That's DH Gamer that's coming.
Yep.
That's from 16th, 17th position. I was hoping not to be the first to retire, but unfortunately I've got that accolade. I'll take that one because this is a very, very difficult track. Jack Gamer is actually getting onto that. Is because I'm having to use the in-game interface. It's difficult for me to figure out who's who. Mad Hayes. So that's a potential battle for fourth. That was forming. Oh, Ferret spun on the start-finish straight. I think no.
That's at the top of the hill. That must have been an enormous incident for him to be so far down the straight and be sideways facing out. There is no boot on that Clio. So yes, it has indeed been a very, very large incident.
And that is not a happy Clio either. He is not steering straight in the slightest. Oh, that's a big twitch as well.
Oh dear.
Not sure who that was that came past him. That was not
Pereira. Thiago Pereira is just past him, it looks like. Actually, the Yorkie's down in 15th out on his own. This is heartbreaking with all these little incidents and people having to pit for damage and that sort of thing. We've got so many gaps now.
No one is immediately fighting anybody, which is a little strange. And you don't often find the likes of Van Ommen down in 20th. I mean, that wasn't helped by me either, which, I mean, if he chose to take that to Stewart, I would take the penalty for that. Absolutely, it was 100% my fault. As Crab has gone onto the dust, the outside of, I don't know, turn number 0, coming down to the hairpin. He's chasing, is that Mad Hayes?
Mad Hayes, yep. Yeah, in the yellow car. Has fallen the way down there. I think that's because Mad pitted, I'm pretty sure. Alan, meanwhile, is looking at the back of Nuno Aparicio at the moment. Nuno gets a massive twitch going up over the crest, over that right-hander. Gets right to the inside, but manages to keep it all in one line. King to the right, and Alan's getting very brave on those curbs now. We've had all sorts of troubles with them all night, but that won't stop the drivers from using them if they can possibly do so.
Yeah, that particular one will pitch you onto two wheels and almost certainly throw you into the wall.
Yep,
there are a few curbs you can use, not many though. It's knowing which ones you can or can't, but Aparicio has not had a good run through that small section as we're coming to the final turn. Appricio's going to go a bit deep. Alan should be able to cut underneath him, but well held. Aparicio actually managed to keep the momentum going. And is he going to come in? There's someone ahead of them.
Who's going to drop into the pits?
Aparicio is in.
Yep.
So we're getting a bit dry tanks now. We're under 6 litres pretty much for everybody. As Gerard is on the back of Fatworm now. So Fatworm's doing his best to hang on to second place. He's fallen off the back of Smolder by 3.5 seconds, which is nothing to be ashamed about. I wonder if that was TPW having another moment there, but no, it wasn't. Unfortunately, I smashed into TPW on the ended our respective races. He had a moment ahead of me, and I sent him into space.
Yep. No. Don't worry. We've got that one on camera as well. that was a massive incident. Ended up taking out about 6 or 7 cars in the end. Through the let's say the indirect results of having cars with no headlights or tail lights on the track.
Oh no, I was referring to the sprint race that
TPW
came together. The incident I was involved with had a huge following behind it.
That did, yeah. That was an incident and a half.
Oh, who's that? That's Crab, I think. That's had a big moment of the hairpin. Cooley is right behind him. Crab actually well recovered that. He was on the grass on the outside of that hairpin. That's where I picked up my damage on the sprint race, and it's very hard to recover from there. Also, WMDR Martin on the back of Thiago.
Pereira. Thiago Pereira.
Pereira. Yep. There's not as many penalties as I was expecting, actually, either.
No, and funnily enough, one of them's for Ticklish, which is rare.
Very rare.
Really rare. 2 seconds for Thiago Pereira. So at the moment, it looks like WMDR Martin, if he can stay within 2 seconds of Thiago's car, then he's looking pretty for a 12th position at the moment. 10-second penalty for Mr. Ferret.
That's someone was parked on the inside of that turn. Don't know who it was. DH Gamer.
Yep.
Had an incident again. And that's just how easy it is. I bet you he caught that apex. Exactly as we were just talking about a lap ago.
Yep.
He's caught that inside apex. And he's either bounced off the wall or it's just pitched him round to the right. And he's then just parked it. He's got a few more people coming into the pits. Gerard and Alan have come in. Who's that in 17 has come in?
That is Tony Tacos.
Tony Tacos.
Yep. Which is going to promote Ticklish all the way up to 3rd position now. So,
It is.
has Ticklish pitted yet? No, I didn't think so. Oh, wow!
Fuming was stationary. Yeah, Fuming was very slow coming through the early turns. Gerard was one of them.
Whoa, Mr. Ferret having a massive incident through turn 1. I'm really sorry to talk across you there, but he came right back across onto the circuit. He's facing the wrong way now. So, drivers coming around through turn 1. Another car having a massive incident, just about being able to miss Mr. Ferret. So the drivers coming through turn 1 would just see the absolutely horrifying sight of bright white headlights facing them. And as a driver, is there anything worse?
Well, it rather depends on what's going on with those headlights. I mean, Mr. Ferret has actually parked it on the right-hand side off the road, which is absolutely spot on.
Exactly.
And I bet you that all started because he's had to come out of the pit lane. Unfortunately, he has to come to the racing line. He's got no choice.
Yep.
And he's at crawling speed whilst everyone else is absolutely stonking it through 100 miles an hour plus.
Yep. So there's probably either some kind of interaction that's occurred on the rear of that Clio, or he's just binned it in avoidance of much, much faster cars. Speaking of much, much faster cars. Speaking of much, much faster cars, Aparicio, Javal and Alan in a 3-way fight at the moment, just behind Mad Haze and Jack Game, who is fighting for 5th all the way down to 9th position. All of a sudden these cars coming all the way back together again, either through pit stops or Smolder into the pits now. A leader into the pits, and will Fatworm follow? Yes, he will. Yeah. That's about as much as you are going to get out of those fuel tanks.
Yeah. There are 2 leaders left. They were never going to get another lap. Well, they would have been crawling if they tried to get another lap. TBW would be right in with it. Yeah, that's a brilliant battle going on. 6th to 9th. Which is Mad Haze, Gerard, Aparicio, and Alan in a great strat. Oh, Jack Gamer as well at the front of that particular pack.
Yep.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. But let's see. So Smolder's come back out in the lead. He's had an absolutely cracking pit stop. Let's see where our other pitters reappear. Fatworm's come out in 8th position. He's come out okay. Matt Cooley flashing his lights. He's gone past.
Yep.
TPW. So this is the problem. If you look at TPW, he's on the racing line, absolutely crawling because he's got no choice.
Yeah.
He's just come out of the pits. Martin has gone into the pits as well. But TPW has fortunately for him, timed that brilliantly well because there is no one anywhere near him. Whoa!
Big slide.
Big slide. And
this is the thing with the Clios is they're front wheel drive, but they handle like drift cars. It's watching this racing is both terrifying and hilariously intriguing because you know they're silly little super meters that you can take to the shops and put your shopping in the back. And they're going so sideways, especially under braking as well. You think, how on earth is that happening?
Well, wow, Jack Gamer's had a big moment coming out. The slow left-hander, Matt Hayes, side by side as they're going to come onto the back part of the straight. Now you can go side by side. Oh, Jack Gamer's turned in too early, and he's nudged. Beg your pardon, it was Matt Hayes turned in early.
Careful of your throat there.
Well, if it's going to go, I may as well do it. So Jack Gamer, he's probably not going to be happy. He didn't pull something similar on me, but he pulled a bit of a bullish overtake on me in the sprint race. Yeah. So he knows how to get his elbows out. I'll tell you what we'll do. Smolder is coming over he's coming up to the final turn. I'll talk you through this lap from a driver's perspective. You keep an eye on the battles that we've got further down to see if anybody, you just keep an eye on the names.
Yeah.
So, over the start finish line, obviously your right foot is absolutely planted. He's got someone ahead of him. I don't know who that is ahead of Smolder at the moment. So, this is obviously a very flat right-hand, flat-out right-hander. A little bit of a bump, but nothing to worry about. But this is one of the most dangerous braking zones here. He opted to come down to 5th, which is a safer but slower way of doing it. The way I did it was kept the foot pinned and brake a little. He's gone and thrown that one into turn 3, which is absolutely fine. Again, very dangerous spot there, but that's not a bad way of doing it. But this is the worst braking zone, and he's opted to just very gently coax that car all the way down and just nicely catch the apex, and then back on the gas. They are the most scary braking zones in sector 1 of this lap. Now back up the hill, he's going to wander over to the right-hand side. You can do this flat if you haven't got damage. And he's just going to sweep through. It's not really that taxing. This isn't a tyre burner like we've had for the last couple of races. Now heavy on the brakes, down to 2nd. Okay, you could have taken a little quicker, but again, the quicker you take it, the more likely you are to run over that outside curb. That was not too bad. Now you're flat out coming through the next couple of right-handers. Smolder really is one to throw the car. You don't necessarily need to throw it that hard, but then the replay is often exaggerates that kind of movement. Now this, you just a little down with the brakes. He comes down a gear. Well, that's personal preference if you do that. This is definitely a 4th gear corner. He's throwing the tail in. You just kind of time the turn and the brakes in to get the tail to kick out. 4th gear here as well. Now again, that curve there can pitch you over into that left-hand barrier, but very nicely taken by Smolder. Now it's going to be flat out until the slow final corner. Let's wander through this corner, which weirdly doesn't have a number on your map. I don't know why. And then it is heavy on the brakes man. Now down to 2nd. It's really awkward.
Yeah.
Well, the car just doesn't want to. It bounces off. That outside curve doesn't really do anything because you're too slow.
Yeah.
And then that is a lap, roughly from the driver's perspective. He's that's coming. That's crap. That's coming to the pits.
That was a fantastic track guide from yourself, King. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Meanwhile, DH Gamer down the latter half of the grid, DH Gamer and Mr. Ferret were Marauder, fighting over 18th and 19th. While you were going around that track lap, they were switching positions left, right and centre. Slightly further up the field, we do have a 3-way fight at the moment between Ticklish Picklewickle, Aparicio and Fatworm. Previous leader now demoted a few places down through the pit stops. Fairly stable gaps it looks like at the moment, but as we've seen, all of that can change in a braking zone as Ticklish from behind runs slightly wider than the 2 drivers in front. A little bit more comfortable with the car, maybe. A little bit more willing to push the limits, definitely.
Jack and Alan are fighting once again for 4th position right behind them. Matt Hayes and Jack are fighting for 3rd position, I beg your pardon. And only a couple of seconds behind them is Alan and Gerard. Jack really has not let Matt Hayes go since he made that overtake where they ended up banging doors against one another a lap or 2 ago. Jack has absolutely nailed himself to the pack of the silver and yellow car. Here we go again, up onto the back straight. You see that even through that particular section, the tail of Matt Hayes' car just wants to get away as TPW's made a lovely inside maneuver into that slow left-hander to take that 10th position. And coming through that fast right-hander is Mad Hayes and Jack. Down to that left-hander. Oh, Mad Hayes didn't quite open that up as much as he could have done, but neither did Jack. Again, it's one of these things that this track is ready to kill you at every given opportunity. How much risk do you take? And, well, you've no doubt seen how many people have died as a result of this particular track.
Yes, absolutely.
And, who's that? That's Tony Tacos coming into the pits again.
Ooh, someone's not happy with their car. Either that or they're just suffering and not able to get themselves stable. So Ticklish now the sandwich, the filling in a Clio sandwich. Looking at the back of Fatworm, I'm wondering how much Fatworm's going to fight this position. Because he was saying about slow and steady winning the race, but Ticklish is looking significantly quicker. He's going to look to the inside, surely through turn 1. No, not quite close enough.
Out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, TBW backed off of that. He didn't fancy going side by side through that particular section. I wondered if Fat One was going to defend that as well.
Yep.
And as we come into, you heard Fat One bounce off the limiter there, and he's gone quite wide, but he has kept that one under control. TBW being quite cautious through here. He's on enough incidents at this particular part of the track already tonight. Oh yeah, who's that he's catching up to? I think that is a back marker there. Catching
it probably will be.
Nice. Steady, and very well played.
Very well done. Yep.
It's Tony Tacos, well played. He's led all 3 of them through.
Yep, no, brilliant driving.
It's more resilient than I am. I bailed out of it. I got too frustrated with constantly spinning in this race, so I bailed out to join you in the commentary box here. My natural habitat. It's much safer for me. it's safer for everybody, I think, if I'm in here.
I disagree. I I was having great fun commentating over your driving.
Very kind of you.
It's alright. You can come and commentate over my driving another time, and you'll find that I'm just as bad. But Ticklish now looking around the outside up the back straight, one of the 2 that we kind of have in this track, looking at the back of Fatworm. Little break perhaps over the kink now. Ticklish going much wider, seems to be way more confident in the car than Fatworm is. A little bit too confident, in fact, running wide, and Nuno Aparicio following him off the track. Really brave to keep the foot in it, just so that, well, so the car remains stable, because you dare step on the brakes in these Clios on the grass, you're guaranteed to spin, really, aren't you?
Well, indeed, yes. TBW actually backed out of that a little bit coming into that right-hand section, but now I would imagine he wants to nail Fat Worm before he gets to turn 1. He's been very cautious in trying to make the move before then. He does not want to be going side by side coming down towards turn 3. And again, Fat Worm just gets a good enough exit to keep TBW behind.
Yep.
And there we go. Yeah, once again, TBW backs off. That's an easy flat-out right-hander. But again, if you look at his throttle input, he's just half throttle. He's just holding on there. Mm-hmm. Whoa, yeah, that's one way to take. That's pretty much how I take the corner. How sideways.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, massive kick from the curb for Fatworm. Yep, absolutely. And this is what we've seen from Fatworm the entire race so far. Even when the car has gotten away from him, he's just had it in control. And Ticklish now a little bit unnerved by that massive kick of oversteer from the Clio in front. Oh,
yeah, indeed. But again, he's been caught out too many times. I mean, look at his bonnet.
Yep.
He's been involved in enough incidents tonight. That's a good run coming through that fast right-hander. Is he going to go for that inside line? Yes, he has.
Has he got the brakes?
He just about. I mean, it is banked a little bit that corner, so he has managed to get the move done.
Oh, man.
Seems to be TBW's overtaking spot of choice. We've seen him make a few moves into, then here comes Aparicio. Oh, no, he went to the outside line, but he's just touched the grass, pulled the car over to the left, and he is smashed into the Armco barrier. Ouch. That is going to give him a fair amount of damage, I'd have thought.
Yep, absolutely. That's going to be some very serious, not straight steering wheel, I think. Actually, let's just jump into the car very quickly and see if we can see with Nuno Aparicio. Nah, it looks straight to me, unfortunately. That's a shame. That's a shame. That would be really cool.
Thiago Pereira and Matt Cooley are still scrapping over what is now 7th position. And, Matt...
Side by side into turn 1. Side by side into turn 1. Matt Hayes and Jack Game. Jack Game going around the outside, completely giving up on any kind of stability and just nailing it round the outside of Mad Hayes. Sorry, carry on as you are.
Oh, no. Also, as Turbo has caught Smolder. He's going to have to do it this lap. We're in the final 30 seconds of this race. And he's got to... It's going to be now or never, do or die, if As Turbo wants to take this win. Here we go, looking at this three-way battle again as Alan gets very deep. Oh no, huge impact. Jack went too wide. Alan's not happy about that. That's actually inappropriate use of lights. He could get a penalty for doing that. But Matt Hayes has taken the opportunity to take that 3rd spot from that mistake from Jack Gamer. He'll be kicking himself for that. It's, again, very easy to do. You're concentrating on the guy behind. You just overshoot the entry into that hairpin, and you're off into the wall. Jack is thinking about his own maneuver into that left-hander. Not happening. Where is our leaders? Smolder is... Where is he? It's coming up to the right-hand kink.
Yep.
He's going to be all right for now, I'd have thought. But that three-way battle is not resolved yet.
No, nowhere near. Jack Game is going to be looking for any opportunity he can possibly get to get past that third place car of Mad Hayes. He has got past him several times already this lap and is definitely going to be looking for any chink in the armour that is left in this, 4 corners left? Both of them sideways through that left-hand banked corner. And we're coming down to this final sector now. There's only going to be really one more braking opportunity where he could get a proper overlap. And we're coming up to it now as Smolder is about to cross the line. We're not going to pay any attention to that because this fight has yet to be resolved. Looking up the inside, bouncing off the curb. Wide goes Jack Game. Mad Hayes retains, and Jack Game from that overtaking attempt is going to lose a position and end up 5th behind Alan. Very unfortunate way to end, but that was the only really opportunity he was going to have to be able to get that position back. And with the way that this track is, those curbs really are deadly.
Yeah, but there was no room for Jack Gamer to make the opportunity happen, as Mad Hayes had closed that door, but he gave it a try, and All-Rounder actually finished behind him due to penalties anyway. TBW is going to cross the line in 9th position. Aparicio quite some way behind in the end with various trials and tribulations he's been through, but he's a long way ahead of Fatwem, who is a long way ahead, I think, of WNBR Martin. Yeah, there's still quite some guys going on. There's a battle, actually. WNBR Martin is having a scrap with Royalty. Oh!
Who has got a lot more pace than Martin, it looks like. Oh!
Nasty! Yeah, flash of the lights. Apologies there from Royalty. Oh, yeah, I think WNBR Martin has been struggling with this race. He's been also caught up in a few instances, judging by, shall we say, his remarks on Discord, which aren't repeatable.
Yep.
Royalty getting very close. Joe Gokes is catching them as well. He could really get involved in this particular battle. This is essentially a battle for 12th.
And round the outside. Is there any space? Is there any space around the outside? Is there any space on the inside? Martin goes wide, outbrakes himself, lets both cars through, and now we're going to have a fight to the line between Royalty and Joe Gerk. It looks like Royalty just about has it. This is over 12th to 14th, for goodness sake. No, he's not! Oh my goodness!
Penalties rearranged that, but Joe Gerk did manage to finish. Because I'm in VR, I was actually on board with him. I looked to my right. That was actually the width of the bumper, nothing more.
I have terrible news for you. Mm-hmm. After all of that work from Joe Gerk, he's got a 1 second penalty, which is going to put him behind both of the cars that he just overtook. Absolutely heartbreaking, but a ridiculous race. Let's run through the classifications really quickly. Smolder is going to take the win from As Turbo, and Mad Hayes 01 is going to complete our podium. Jack Game 88 is going to come home in 4th, with Alan in 5th. Jared Javal in 6th. Matt Cooley will come home in a very respectable 7th. Thiago Pereira, after that incident, will stay in 8th position at the finish line. Ticklish Picklewickle, from a very difficult sprint race, will climb all the way up to 9th position. Nuno Aparicio will come home in 10th. Fatworm, again, starting from pole, 11th position, very much respectable. I'm sure he was expecting to be a much further down the grid come the end of the race. Royalty in 12th, WMDR Martin and Joe Gerk, the trio that we just watched come across the line. Mr. Van Ommen will come across the line in 15th position. Not surprisingly, people are already jumping into the ready to interview room. Yorkie 065 will come home in 16th. 17th will be Marauder, Mr. Ferret in 18th, 19th DH Gamer, Alan Rake in 20th, Crab in 21st, Tony Tacos 22nd, and poor Mr. King Kodiak having retired, unfortunately.
I made it this far in the season before retiring from a race. I'll take that.
So you should, sir. But as you say, what a race to retire from. I mean, I don't think anyone can really blame you.
Well,
It's
very kind of you. But
from
it was a very, very difficult track. I knew it was. I put a fair amount of practice into not dying in the early part of the race, but unfortunately, it's one of these things, and most drivers can appreciate it. You let frustration get the better of you,
Yep.
and which I did. So I opted to take the safer option and retire the car. But as my voice is now checking out, I'm going to leave the rest of the stream to you. Thank you very much for allowing me into your commentary box.
Thank you very much for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope that we can share the mic again another time soon.
Indeed.
Have a good
Till
night.
then, good night.
Okay, so the first person we're going to drag in tonight is our pole sitter and eventual 11th position finisher, Fatworm. Talk to me very briefly about how that race went for you.
Hi there. Sorry about that.
No, you're right.
Well, what happened there?
What did happen there?
What did happen there? I was pleased the fact that I didn't manage to mess things up for the first, 10 laps or so. And then I think I clipped a curb, but it caught the rear wheels and it damaged the suspension. So I went in and had fuel stop and then went out and did exactly the same again. So my last 3 laps, I went backwards by 3 places from 8th to 11th. But overall, great race.
So a heartbreaking end, but starting. So how was it starting from pole position? You controlled the grid. You controlled the first few laps. I was doing obeisance to you in the comms box because your driving was superb. It's as though you've been doing it for years, and judging by your score on the Project Cars license, you have been doing this for quite a while.
Just about a year, I think. But it was great. I think. I mean, I practiced this track an awful lot. I've been doing it every day for maybe an hour or so with Mad Haze. So it does as Ticklish says. You've got to practice this track time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. But it definitely reaped its rewards. And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was pleased to just to lead off. That was exciting, and my heart was beating all the way around. I must have lost about 4 kilos in weight. And then, I mean, even to end up 11th, for me, I'm delighted with that.
Yep, no, absolutely. That was as I say, it was fantastic to watch as well. When you first lost the lead, it was heartbreaking, we will say. But it was absolutely brilliant racing from yourself. And to come home in 11th, that's some really solid points, and definitely something you can take momentum through into the rest of the series.
Yeah, definitely. A really great race, and really enjoyed it. Thank you.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. It was an absolute pleasure watching you. It really was. I'll drag you back out in a second, but in the meantime, hopefully we'll see you next time out.
Absolutely. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Brilliant. Have a good man. We will drag into the room more. This is going to be a really difficult one now because to pick someone. I'll tell you what. Let's grab our dear coordinator in Ticklish Pickwickle. A pretty nightmarish sprint race turning into pretty solid points. 9th at the finish line. Talk us through how that was for you.
Seems to be a sort of a trend. This with I'm like doing really good in the sprint race until something happens, and then I just go completely like down the grid, and then I start from down the grid in the feature race, and then I get a good result.
It's almost as if, and I say this with an ever so slight tongue-in-cheek feel to it. It's almost as if your ability as an endurance driver actually pays dividends in the longer races, where the more sprint-oriented, let's get the hot laps in type of drivers tend to fade over time and use too much of their tyres, too much of the cars generally, and fall by the wayside.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, the sprint race is quite chaotic, and it's obviously it's only half the time of the feature race, so you obviously need to be on your toes, and if you want to make some moves, you gotta do it, before the time runs out.
Yeah.
As opposed to the feature race where you have much more time to plan your moves and go through the grid. So, but yeah, it definitely pays off with sort of endurance-minded driving in the feature race. And I did learn from my mistake in the sprint race, and I took it quite easy. Maybe a little bit too easy, but it's better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
For the 10-1, 10-2, sorry.
Yep, as always, the lesson to take away from the races is to finish first you have to finish. And a very successful race, I think that everyone will agree for yourself.
Yes, exactly. I don't think I can complain. I started 20th and I finished 9th. So
yeah.
11 positions gained over those 40 minutes is quite a ride.
Yeah, that's the kind of achievements that we like to see and hear about here at AOR. Nice positive race. Be able to take that momentum into next week. And actually, what other races have you got on this week?
Like, what's the next Clio?
No. What races have you got this week?
Nothing for the rest of the one.
I was gonna say it's next one's Monday, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Formula 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing a VLN social race tomorrow, but that's completely another.
Yeah, of course. Well, so a little bit of relaxation for you over the weekend at least, and then back into it on Monday.
Yeah. Let's hope it goes as well as it did, at least for the feature race.
Yeah, absolutely. So Monza short track will be next time out. Just found the post. How are you feeling about that? Because that's a very interesting. That's a really interesting layout actually, because you cut off the entire bottom end of the track, and it's kind of a glorified oval, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much only the half of the main straight, or like 2/3 of the main straight, and then the back straight. That's it. Everything else just cut off by that by those. What is it like? It's a right, left, right again.
Yeah.
But it's quite quick succession, so it's a lot of it's basically like Monster is as well. It's like the straights and then heavy braking, straights, heavy braking again.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's gonna be very, very, very close because the times are like I think it's somewhere around 50 to 55 seconds. I can't really 100% remember, but it's sub 1 minute times. So which means that the shorter the track, the closer the gaps will also be. So I think we'll see some extremely close racing and hopefully some very, very great slipstream battles next week.
It's gonna be a very, very busy track in qualifying and the race. With the 50-second, it's like putting 25 cars on Brands Hatch Indy circuit. You're gonna be looking left, right, and centre for cars coming at all different paces. It's gonna be mad.
Yeah, it's one of those things that also makes it up, because you need to sort of time where you choose to go fast in the qualifying, sort of find a gap in the track to get a good lap in. So that'll probably be a big challenge, and it will hopefully mix the grid up with some people not getting a quite as fast lap as they had hoped for. So yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Until then, pleasure talking to you as always. Well done on your drive from 20th to 9th. That's still an incredible climb of positions. Also, you outdid Van Ommen. So, as far as positions gains was concerned,
I see you're probably going to talk to him a little bit later, but yeah. So, I mean, he said that I think he was in the pits 2 or 3 times because of damage. So
that sounds about right.
But that also shows that he might have been maybe a little bit too eager to get up the track, and he might have made some mistakes and had some collisions. So
absolutely, I think I might talk to him next. Actually,
right? Yeah.
Having mentioned him, there you go. Have a lovely evening, mate. I'll catch you in a bit.
You too.
So, as I say, I will drag Van Ommen in next. Mr. Van Ommen, what did we make of that feature race?
You tell me.
I've got to be honest. There were battles all around the grid, and not many of them were including you.
No, but that's
Oh dear, oh dear.
God.
I don't like the sound of that laugh.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was not a race that I could do anything to get into a better position where I ended. I so I actually had an insane start. So I went from P16 to P10 or 9 in the
Yeah.
first lap. But then there was a crash in the after turn one.
Yep.
I braked.
Yep.
But I think that I
Oh
was the only one
no.
deciding that. So everybody behind me piled up into my car. I was
Oh.
100% safe, but yeah, the people behind didn't brake. So yeah, I got like 40 engine damage and something like 80 front damage or something. I don't even know because I don't think I even got that much rear damage, which is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like a crash magnet, and then yeah,
Oh, it's
Kikodiak,
heartbreaking.
yeah, and then after my pits, I did 2 laps, and then Kikodiak wanted to let me pass, and he said, "Please go to the right,"
Oh.
and then he clipped the curb on the outside, so his car on the straight just sweep to the right. So yeah, then I had to pit again. So yeah, that's it. Couldn't couldn't do anything. But it
Unbelievable.
probably cost me the championship. But yeah, it's fine. It's shit happens.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And next time out, we're at Monza, the Monza short course. So
Oh, cool.
an entirely different challenge. And I promise you, there are absolutely no curbs on this one.
Yeah, that's good.
Just
That's good to hear.
yeah, just the wall on the inside of turn one that you need to keep an eye out for.
Okay. No, that sounds good. I think also less crashes. Well, less crashes that if it happens that everybody piles up. That's.
I was going to say, wait until you drive it and then say that to me. I've driven that track a few times and I'm going to disagree with you
Okay.
at the moment. Based on what we've seen tonight, the kind of track layout that first sector doesn't lend itself to having 26 or so Renault Clios piling into it.
Okay.
So
okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Then I better make sure to be up front.
I was gonna say a clean qualifying lap is gonna be more pivotal than normal. I think
Yeah.
with the Monza, even with this round of Les Essarts track, it was there were always passing opportunities. I think we're going to see a lot of close racing. I think we're going to see a lot of drafting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult race to pass.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. One victory down, 11th place. You'll still take home some points, which let's be honest, is what actually matters.
Yeah, but I think Asturbo got second, right? And
I think Asturbo, yes, was second.
yeah, so I think he makes a very decent gap with that probably. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not insurmountable. And if you had the bad luck this time out, maybe it'll be his turn next time out.
Yeah. Let's. I'm not hoping for that.
We're not hoping for that. No.
I want a clean win, but
absolutely.
It would be nice. It would be nice if it's still obtainable to win the championship in the last race. That makes it a little bit more exciting.
No, of course. Nonetheless, I'll speak to you next time out. You have a lovely evening, and I will catch you next time. So next into the box, we will bring a Royal T, I think. Royal T, how was that race for yourself? I don't think we spoke to you after the first one, did we?
No, I decided I needed to keep focus for my second race, with it being in the dark.
Totally.
And everything
Understandable.
Requires a little bit more concentration.
Oh, believe me, we saw that in the feature race. Talk us through your races then. Go on, let's hear it all, because we may as well get that out of the way before we start talking about individual incidents.
Well, my race overall was a lot better than I expected. I gained positions where I thought I wouldn't get positions, and I finished ahead of people I thought I wouldn't finish ahead of.
Mm-hmm.
And with my race being marred with one or two accidents, one being my own fault, finishing 12th is probably my best for the season so far.
No, that's cool. And consistent points is always the way that you want to be going.
Scoring points is my only goal.
Yes. And that's, well, in reality, that's the only goal that matters, really, isn't it? It's the points that make the prizes.
Exactly, and I need to outperform my teammate.
Of course. Who is your teammate?
Ticklish.
Oh, good grief. Oh, you've got a lovely challenge then.
I know.
You don't.
And I'm losing so far.
Yeah. Well, next time out, we're down at Monza. So hopefully we'll be having. Yep. There'll be some lovely sun there, so it'll be nice and warm. Tires will be nice and hot, and the stability hopefully will be with the car. And just that first and last sector of the track to negotiate. It should be a very interesting race for yourself.
I think so. I mean, we could probably fit 4 cars wide at Monza instead of here.
Instead of 1.5 here.
Well, we try to fit 3 going down the main straights.
Oh, right. How did that go?
Not very well.
It's a shame. That's a shame.
But,
wide.
I mean, we fought back nicely, and I think myself and Martin had a good race all the way to the end.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. No, there were good races up and down the field tonight. It really was such a shuffle of the pack from what we're used to. Well, Van Ommen, who has been winning left, right, and centre, was I think down in 15th come the end of the race. That's how upside down this race was. So, yeah, no, absolutely a spectacle of a race. Really was good.
But that's what makes these reverse grids so spectacular to watch and
Absolutely.
to be part of.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, because it's all well and good. It's all well and good being good to watch with all the overtaking and drama that can come from reverse grid races. But if it's good to actually drive as well and to get some time around the faster drivers as well, brilliant. That's good. Great to hear.
It's always a learning experience to be behind one of the better guys like Van Omen or Yorkie for that matter of speaking.
Yeah. Do you think you learned anything from them tonight?
I did. I can brake a lot later, and I can probably take more chances than what I did.
Good. And that again, that's definitely something you can take forward in this championship specifically. A very big stop through the Monza through the first corner through Monza, and then the big stop at the end round Parabolica. Definitely going to be very key to have your braking nailed at that track. So in the meantime, get your braking points nailed, and you should be looking for a lovely high grid position.
My goal is to finish in the top 10 for the final round of the season.
I'm going to hold you to that. Brilliant. Right, thank you very much for giving us a massive amount of entertainment tonight, Royalty. And hopefully we'll get to see you next time out as well.
I look forward to being around next time.
Good man. Catch you in a bit.
Cheers.
And last into the cum box, we're going to grab WMDR Martin, who, let's say, you had an interesting race.
Yeah, it was a bit chaotic, that one.
Yeah. Talk us through it. Talk us through your viewpoint of of events.
Yeah, I had a decent start. Was tailgating Gerard, but he somehow managed to clip a hay bale, throwing it right into my car, resulting in me getting 24 engine damage right off the bat, as well as yeah, and the same amount for front aero damage. So I had to drive with that for the entire race.
Oh man.
And yeah, I decided not to pit for damage because if you have to repair your engine in this game, it takes ridiculously long, and I didn't want to get lapped. So
I mean, you
decided to carry on.
You say ridiculously long. it's engine damage. It's probably going to take some time.
Yeah, more time than I wanted to give up, so I just kept driving, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the pack got away, of course, because I was driving a crippled car again. But had some interesting pirouettes along the way. Had another crash, which I somehow got through unscathed. And then towards the tail end of the race, we went 3 wide on the main straight and had another huge crash.
I don't remember seeing that. That seems astounding to me. That was so. It was so what was it? You 3 wide with Crab and Royalty by the looks of it.
Yeah, Royalty tried to. Royalty and I were fighting for position, and Crab tried to unlap himself, but he. Yeah.
Oh, he just timed it wrong. I take it.
Yeah, I mean, he should have at least waited for us to finish our business up front since he's a lap down. But hey.
Yeah, of course. It's a really heartbreaking end to what was, well, a really eventful race, or a really eventful evening, really. I did see some comparisons to Nürburgring, to Nordschleife, and it really earned it tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm glad that I never touched the curb after turn 2, because that caused several crashes. If I heard correctly.
Oh yeah, there were. If you watch back the stream, several crashes is an understatement. I think most of the incidents in the race were caused, if not directly, indirectly from people carrying damage from turn 2.
Yeah, then towards the end of the race, Royalty and I were still going at it, fighting a battle and stuff, and someone else was coming up behind us. I'd managed to park my car in the way for, I think, 7 minutes straight to keep him behind me.
Yep.
And then in the very last corner on the last lap, I had a lag spike, and they both.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was a huge lag spike and locked the brakes.
I was gonna say, from our point of view, it was you locking up the brakes, which absolutely would be a fair enough mistake to make on the last lap when you're under pressure by 2 cars. They were 2 cars fighting for position, by the way.
Yeah.
So no, it would have been an absolutely fair mistake to make with that much pressure, but for it to be a lag spike as well, which caused it, absolutely heartbreaking. Really, I really feel for you now. God damn it.
Yeah, one positive note from that incident, though, is the guy who passed both of us, he had a 1-second penalty, and he finished 0.02 seconds behind.
Joe Gurk. Yep. No, we found that because he got passed at the line, and he literally flicked up 1 and then down 2 on the driver tracker on the left hand side. I was like, hang on a second. Looked up the time. It's like, oh, that's how much a second can lose you with these Clios.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective, my car had so much damage that I could not actually get penalties anymore, because the game thought I was slowing down regardless.
Oh man, that's I would put that in a signature if I were you. That's quite a claim that's quite a claim. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So all in all, I think P13, all things considered, is pretty good.
We'll call that an achievement and call it that, I think. Yeah, no, absolutely. Bit of a endurance of an evening for you then.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the last round of the championship at Monza. Much easier track, and I promise you can cut the first corner.
Yeah, for Monza, it's a lot safer of a track. Probably going to see more dive bombing, but at least the walls are a lot further away.
No, they're not. Not through the cut through.
Yeah, it's not where I'm expecting the dive bombs though. So.
Oh really?
I'm fairly around.
I am absolutely expecting some drafting down the start finish straight and some enormous lockups into turn 1.
Yeah, you might have a point.
Yep. So keep an eye out for them, and hopefully we don't see you being taken out by one of them.
Yeah, hey, at least there's no hay bales in Monza.
Yeah. That can go in a signature as well. Good grief. There you go. Right. I'm not sure quite how to sign off with you. Commiserations in a way, but also congratulations. Really constructive evening. Definitely a test of endurance and a test of character for yourself. I'd say you come out as a winner there.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Beautiful. Catch you next week.
Yep. See ya.
Brilliant. See ya. Okay, and with all those interviews concluded, I think it's about time that I signed off as well. It's 20 past 10. Brief. Thank you very much, everyone for watching. If you enjoyed what we're doing here at AOR, absolutely hit that like button if you enjoyed this broadcast as well, especially with the guest appearance by King Kodiak. I really wasn't expecting that. It was a massive pleasure to be casting with him. He brings such an energy to the combox. If you enjoy what we're doing as well, by all means hit that subscribe button, and there is a join button underneath as well where you can join our community. Speaking of community, the Apex Online Racing forums are in the description below. Make sure you get over there, get signed up, and if you are a fan of what we're doing here, get involved, get yourself signed up for a league, and you never know, maybe I'll be speaking to you the first time that you take your very first win in an AOR league race. I have been Eike Sky, and it has been an absolute pleasure casting these two races for you tonight, and I will see you next time. Very good night to you.